I do have to do the disclaimer where any information is part of the meeting and is for information use only. Encourages all of you to consult with your primary care provider for your direct medical attention. And then also, I'm not really going to be mentioning any products or services. So as far as I can see, there are no relationships to disclose or list. So let's get on with our topic today, which is sexuality and relationships. So really what I hope to do today is, as I look out across this large room with all the different people in here, all the different age groups represented, different genders, different experiences in life, and so on, it's really difficult for me to go exactly, to know exactly how I can help all of you in your individual particular need. But one of the things that I know about all of you is that you're human beings. So what I plan to do is to present information to you as human beings, and hopefully there will be something in there that you can use. So I really want to assist and support your growth as a human being in this area of relationships and sexuality. I want to provide some fun and some interaction. I won't have you do anything too crazy like dancing on the tables or anything like that, but there might be some movement involved. And I want to really get you to think, maybe provide some food for thought, maybe kind of shake open some closed areas of your mind and heart and give you the opportunity for some growth. It's also really important that I acknowledge that these are topics that are really difficult to talk about. And they put me and they put you in kind of a vulnerable situation. These are also very private and personal areas of our life. And I have a lot of experience dealing with people with disabilities and their families. And I'll tell you a little story about working at Craig Hospital for 18 years. One of the classes that I taught regularly was about sexual health for people with spinal cord injury. And I got a hold of this video made by the students at University of California at Berkeley. Now, does anybody know anything about the people at Berkeley? They're radical. They cause all kinds of issues. They chain themselves to gates. They drag down buses. They lay across roads. But you know what? Those people in Berkeley got a lot of things changed for all of us. Well, they made this video about sexuality, and I showed it to my class. And it was very nothing expose or, whatever. Well, a family member pulled me aside one day, and she said, "I don't think you should use that video anymore." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" And she said, "Because those college kids should not be having sex." And I'm like, "I'm really sorry." I said, I'm not trying to convince anyone to do anything that they're not comfortable with. And I was also thinking in my head, you might have been living under a rock for the last several years because I think those college kids are doing that. But whatever. So I want to make sure that I frame my talk in that I'm not asking you to change your values. I'm not suggesting you do anything that is difficult or uncomfortable for you, but to really maybe take a discerning look at some of the things that I have to offer and see how those might fit for you. So this session is really different. I really thank Dr. Random and Dr. Collins for their presentations this morning. Very good. Lots of great information. I do things just a little bit differently, so we'll shake it up a little bit. It's not the usual route. I always get nervous, even though I've been teaching for now going on 35 years in all different kinds of venues with all different kinds of people. I still get a little nervous. I kind of think that if I ever go to a talk and I'm not nervous, that might mean that I'm dead. So maybe I shouldn't be talking that day. So I'm a little nervous. Your participation is essential, and it looks like your eyes are open and you're awake, so that's good. And that's not really me on the rock. But I just throw that up there because that was kind of a cool picture, and I used this for several other sessions that I do, but it was just kind of like, yeah, that's it. Go out on the limb. Do something really daring. So I reuse that one a lot. You've heard a little bit about my background, and I'll just tell you a little bit about that picture. As the patient education coordinator at Craig Hospital for a long time, I really defined education in a very broad sense. So one of the days we had a Capuchin monkey who's part of Helping Hands, the Helping Hands service. And that monkey was on the shoulder and picking through the hairs of about 75 people at Craig Hospital that day. And it really was the most joyous day. So I try to bring joy, I try to bring energy, and I do things a little bit differently. So I'm not going to go into all those details. So why are you here? You heard about why I'm up here. I've had some experience. I have some degrees. I know some stuff. But what I want you to do is I want you to put your face in the middle of that frame. put you in the middle of that frame, and I want you to ask yourself this question. Are you a human being? You don't have to answer, okay? Just keep it to yourself. This is not the interaction part of the talk. Do you have an interest in relationship and sexuality? Once again, I don't need to hear it, but I'm kind of thinking that since you're here, maybe you do. By showing up and making a stand, you kind of count yourself in by being here. And then what do you want in your life? Because that's really what this comes down to, is where are you in your life? Whether you be younger, a little bit more experienced, kind of wondering if what else is there for life for you. But these are questions I really want you to keep in mind and answer as we go through the rest of my 33 minutes and 19 seconds. So, are you a human being? I'm pretty sure if so, then you are a sexual being. And what that means is that you have needs and desires. I'm not putting any judgment, not putting any have-tos or shoulds or anything like that, but just an acknowledgement that you have needs and desires. That since you are a human being, and that means you are a sexual being, there is probably some sexual expression in your life. Now, once again, this is not a time to jump up on the table and do, dancing on the table. But sexual expression comes about in the way that you think, the beliefs that you hold, the way that you dress, the people that you associate with, the values that you hold, the things that you do in life. All of those things. I actually was thinking about my own rehab as a spinal cord patient 27 years ago. And I was all over the recreation therapy department. All over it. If it wasn't for recreation therapy, I don't think I would have been able to get through rehab in a nice way. I was on every outing. I tried every piece of equipment. I did everything in an athletic mode. And it wasn't until some years later that I was actually working on my talks around sexuality and relationships that I realized that one of the reasons why I was all over the recreation department is because that was the way I expressed myself sexually. That, sports, athletics, being competent, being strong were all really important to me before my accident. And so for me to continue being that full human being and find an outlet for my expression was through sports and activities and recreation. So I just offer that to you as a thought of, is there a way in your life that you express yourself? And maybe it's through athletics. Maybe it's through artistic creativity. Maybe it's through your caring for yourself and your family and others in your life. There's probably some relationship in your life, and hopefully that starts with yourself and one or other people in your life, your immediate family, your loved ones, those in your community. You probably have some sort of curiosity about this. Sexuality and relationship goes on throughout our entire life. It doesn't, it's kind of at a heightened stance when we're in adolescence. Of course, a lot of things are kind of going nutty during the adolescent time. I just did that class with my college students, and I'm talking to them about the nuttiness of adolescence, and I'm looking out in the room, and most of them are still in adolescence. And I'm like, well, you guys know what I'm talking about, so we don't have to go too much into it. And there's always room for growth. No matter what age or age stage we're in, there's always room for growth. So I like to use the definition that is very broad about human sexuality. I'm just going to read this to you. In the broadest sense, human sexuality represents a natural extension of affection, tenderness, and companionship between two people. It is the integration of somatic, which is our body sense, how we feel, our emotional, intellectual, and social aspects of well-being. It's having the ability to enjoy and control sexual reproduction and behavior without fear, guilt, or shame. And this, to me, is really important for those of us with a disability, no matter what it is. And I am not the face of spinal cord injury, like Dr. Collins was saying. You guys don't have a face of ataxia. I ain't the spinal cord one. I think it's Christopher Reeves. So don't be thinking that, I'm the face of spinal cord injury. I'm just one face, but I'm not the. So it's really about living with a disability and that sort of guilt and shame and fear that comes along with it. I know Dr. Collins was talking about stigma and how, with the movement disorders and with maybe the impaired speech or the slower cognitive functioning that comes along with ataxia, there could be some judgment by people out in the bigger world, who see you with your issues and they see me with mine. And oftentimes it's a misunderstanding. It's a less than sort of approach to the contribution we can make to society. I also like to look at relationship, and I'm a Gestalt therapist. So a Gestalt, for those of you who know, Gestalt was started by Fritz Perls and his wife Laura Perls, and Fritz has kind of a bad rap. You know, he was all crazy and smoking in sessions and getting all nutty. And really, what Gestalt therapy is about the here and now, and it's about making contact with the human being that I am with. So Heisner and Jacobs did some work in this, but what they said was that the human heart yearns for contact. And in Gestalt, we talk about making contact. And to be in relationship means we have to make contact with my humanity contacting the humanity of the other in front of me. And we do that through genuine dialogue. You know, genuine dialogue is at the heart of the human. To be seen, to be heard, and met by another, recognized in our uniqueness, our fullness, and our vulnerability. Not to be judged by the external showings of whatever it is we have going on for us. You know, typically with our disabilities makes us look different. You know, all the different names. You know, people always want to know, what do they want? What do I want them to call me? You know, disabled, handicapped, differently abled, challenged. I'm like, you know, Terry would be a good start. You know, same for you. Call me by my name, not by my disability. It's really difficult to talk about sex. You know, I was a PE teacher for a long time at the middle school level, and, you know, we had to pull the girls out one day and talk about sex stuff, and then the other day we had to pull the boys out and talk about sex. It's really difficult. We don't have a common vocabulary. It's not easy to talk about sex. You know, it's you know, depending on values and culture and where we are in our life. The media portrayal of sex really kind of, you know, messes things up. You know, it kind of portrays the able-bodied, strong, healthy, clean, spontaneous, you know, sex sort of thing. Well, a lot of times that doesn't work for us. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, spontaneous, big, strong, you know, doing all the things that everybody in the movies doesn't always work for me, and may not for you either. You know, our values, our family, our religious beliefs play into this as well. There's a judgment about sexuality, you know, that if you're too much, that's bad. Or if you're not enough, that's bad. It's like we can't seem to find this middle ground. And really another food for thought would be, can we just accept that as human beings, we're sexual beings, and that's part of our life, part of our beingness in the world. And for many folks, there's no one to listen. So it's not only difficult to talk about it, it may be difficult to find someone to even listen. So hopefully that might be another thought for you is there someone in your life who needs someone to listen to them? Or are you someone that needs someone to listen to you? So how do you choose to live? And actually, this is not I didn't think up this question, but when I was meeting with the folks on that August 4th morning, upstairs, and we were having breakfast, and Sue, I don't remember if it was you or somebody, but somebody was at the table and said, you know, Terry, really, if you could come here today and talk with our folks about how do you choose to live, that might be the key issue. Because all of us have a choice about how we live, whether we have a disability or whether we don't. And many times, everyone's got one. It just depends on if you can see it or not. So love and sex is about promoting good feelings and enhancing the capacity for play. So that might be a choice that you make in your life. The ability to feel good, to play, that's not top, it's to play, and to enjoy loving sexuality entwined with all the aspects of life. So our physical health, our emotional and mental well-being. This isn't just something that we set aside, well, I'll get to it on a Friday night at 8 o'clock. Sexuality and relationship actually permeates our whole life 24/7. It has to do with the loving relationships in our life. And it has to do with a spiritual connection, that human spirit. What connects me to that life force that keeps me going? Now, there might be some barriers to getting what you want. You might be surrounded by others' ideas about sexuality and you. And I know ataxia affects people in different stages and ages of their life. For some of our younger folks, it might, and people with spinal cord injury have the same kind of thing. They're just starting to get into their life of being on their own and breaking away from family and establishing their own identity. Identity sense is a big developmental task in adolescence. When a disability, whether it be neurological or traumatic or whatever comes about, that ability to break away may be hampered by now that young person needs to be at home and cared for by family. roles change. Things kind of get there's some interference with that. The interference of the disability issues themselves. Equipment, body parts that don't work quite right, sensation in the body that's different. Spasticity, the bladder and bowel issues and all of that may interfere with this part of our life. Changes in roles, relationship, and daily life. We just are not able to go do the things we used to do the way we used to do it. And being able to adjust and make ourselves overcome whatever barriers are there. Who's there? Sometimes it's a matter of there's such isolation among the disabled population or people with disabilities. It's like, who's there? They're surrounded by family. They're surrounded by caregivers. There's not that social connection in being able to get out. Some of the things that Dr. Collins talked about around transportation. Tremendous issue for all people across the board for people with disabilities. Buses don't show up. You have to reserve access a ride and get picked up 4 hours before your appointment. There's a great YouTube video called Georgina Goes Out, and it's about a young girl over in England who's probably 13 or 14. And I can't remember what her disability is, but it's a really great 11-minute video on how poor Georgina is trying to go out, but she can't get on the bus or the lift doesn't work, and all of her friends are on holiday, and she can't go join them because she can't get out and about like everybody else. So big issue. Time, assistance, and function. And then there's also this thing called body hatred. And I think Dr. Collins was nicer, and she said, we have a low self-esteem. That's true. But there is also in the literature a body hatred that permeates people with disabilities, physical disabilities in particular. That I hate the part of my body that doesn't work right. There's a hatred towards, a self-hatred toward the parts that don't work. So that might be something to be considered around, can you reframe those parts that aren't working right? Can you reframe the attitude towards yourself that is causing this barrier? So expanding your views also, and so what I decided to do was take what I know about people with spinal cord injury and what have people with spinal cord injury done to assist themselves in this area of sexuality. So people with spinal cord injury reported increased sexual imagination. So I don't remember who said it, but I say it all the time, so it wasn't me I didn't say it the first time. But our greatest sex organ is our brain. What can we think of? What imagination can we bring to the experience? So expanding views of sex. Increasing knowledge and creativity. I didn't bring any tools or toys or anything like that. That's for another day and another talk. But there are plenty of things out there, in case you wanted to know. Actually, we did a training at Craig Hospital one time with the staff with Dr. Stacey Elliott from Vancouver. And she brought this whole box of sex toys, and they were all over the place. And our staff was like, what's this? And she's like, you got to get comfortable with these things. How are you supposed to, educate and help your patients with these things if, we're like, I've never even seen this before. She's like, you don't have to use it, just at least have an idea of what it is, to expand our creativity. So maybe the professionals in here might want to take a look at that. Discover new erogenous zones. And erogenous zones are basically those places on our body that turn us on. For some people, it's the earlobe or the back of the neck. Or one time there was a guy that came and spoke, and he said, the inside of my left elbow. And we're all like, that's weird. But somebody did come back a couple days later and go, he's right. My right elbow. No, I'm just kidding. So, it's where in your body, where, and maybe expanding that, for you. Looking at new positions. Sometimes we get into these things, well, I can't do it the way I used to do it, so I can't do it anymore. I was like, well, maybe there's some other way. Expanding that a little bit. Change time of day routine. If you look at the movies, sex always happens after a great dinner and a few drinks, and they go home, and that's when it happens. And it's like, well, sometimes for me, the late evening is I finally get to take the braces off my legs. I finally get to take some tight clothing off, and I relax. And it's not the time that I'm going to get all sexy and everything. So maybe we need to look at a change in time of day and routine. Planned sex is okay. There's this big, it has to be spontaneous, or it's not going to be good. Well, I don't know about you guys. Sometimes spontaneous doesn't work for me. I've got a full-time job. I've got, a family. I've got things to do at home. So maybe sometimes setting aside some time that is actually good would be the most appropriate thing. And they let go of expectation of orgasm. We don't need to go into any more of that about the orgasm word, but I will tell you that there's probably 17 definitions of orgasm. So really what Dr. Stacey Elliott would like me to tell all of you is, in her work, in dealing with people with disabilities and sexual function, it's that really nice feeling. So that's for you to keep for yourself. So let's do some body-mind basics because, sexuality is not just about our brain, but it's also, it's about our brain because it is our largest sexual organ. But it's also about, kind of what is it you want? So if you were to think to yourself, and if you want to jot them down, you can. I'm not going to ask for any audience participation because I don't want to freak anybody out. But I would like you to think about this. And maybe you haven't thought about this in a while. Whether you're with a partner or not. And if you're not, it would be kind of like if you had one and when you were going to have one, what would these qualities be? What are 3 qualities you would like more of in your emotional life with your partner? 3 qualities you'd like more of in your emotional life with your partner. So, I said I wasn't going to ask you, but does anyone have one they want to tell me or share? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. What was that? A hunk. So, okay, 3 qualities in your emotional life. So the hunk would also be a nice person. Oh, a hug. I go for the hunk. I heard hunk. Didn't you people? Yes, you're right. A hug. A warm, tender, present person to give you a hug. Absolutely. Some joy in your life, in your emotional life with your partner. Some happiness, some presence, some sharing. And maybe sometimes, I forgot to tell you all this. I am not the expert in this category. I'm not. Just yesterday, and I'm in the car, coming over here, and my mind's all like still at work and some other things, and I'm getting ready for this talk. And my partner said to me, "Hey, I'm 4th on your list." And I'm like, "What? You're not 4th on my list. You're number 1 on my list." But when I get myself all tied up in my head with work and expectations and things I have to do, I'm not present. So I am not an expert in this. I have to continually work on this myself. So the second one, name 3 qualities you would like more of in your sexual life with your partner. Hugs from the hunk. Okay? With the hunk. 3 qualities you would like more in your sexual life. Maybe it be more loving. That you set aside some time. That you honor each other in that time together. Now, I know I'm once again, I'm trying to keep this down the middle so it touches all ages and all life stages. So hopefully these will. So let's do some other things. So it's not just the qualities and what we do in our mind, but it's waking up our senses. Okay? Don't worry, you're not going to get on the table for this. So let's start with, before we get into the belly rolls and breathing and all that stuff, let's just do a quick inventory. Do a body scan, starting at the top of your head. And notice, just start to move your awareness down from the top of your head, through your forehead, down to your eyes, through your face and your jaw. Notice anything. Tight, cold, hot. Maybe you're like, wow, I haven't noticed my ears in weeks. Welcome your ears, welcome your jaw, down through your neck, your shoulders, where most people keep a lot of tension. Especially people that are pushing chairs and walking on walkers and crutches and canes and have different kinds of musculature available. Moving on down through your chest, your belly, down through your hips and the tops of your legs, down to your knees and your toes. And I didn't mean to leave out the hands and arms and fingers, but notice your fingers. Are they cold? Are they warm? Are they numb? Have you forgotten to say hello to your hands today? So just do a little bit of a body scan. Keep that information to yourself. So one of the things we can really do to help wake up our system and wake up our senses is to do some breathing. So if you want to join me in this, you can. But one of the things I'd like you to do is put your hand on your belly and take a big breath and notice how your belly fills up. Well, it's really your lungs, but, you know. I'm a nurse. I know all the anatomy, but just work with me, people. So take that breath in. And as you blow out, really pull that belly in and have it roll all the way back as you push the air out. And then take another breath in and have the belly roll out. Do this at your own pace. I don't want anybody to like pass out and fall over, and then we have to do paperwork and incident reports. You know, just don't do that. Just do it at your own pace. Just a couple of those just to wake up your breath, wake up your belly. Okay? We've kind of already instituted belly breathing, so continue to breathe. And on this one, as you blow out, really, really tuck in your belly, tight, 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 tight as you blow out. And just naturally let it fill back up. And just doing that a few times in a day might be a way to reconnect with your breath, reconnect with your body, reconnect with your senses. And then one complete breath is just one. Fill it all the way up, from the way down deep, all the way up through your lungs, all the way up to the top of your shoulders, all the way, all the way, all the way, and then squeeze it out. Let it all out. And then just do a quick little body scan again. From the top of your head, through your face, your neck, your shoulders, your back, your belly, top of your legs, your knees, down to your toes. And notice if there was any change in sensation. So if you guys could give me a little, like, flash of, was there a change? Did anyone notice a change? So some, a few. Okay, that's fine. So that might be one way to reconnect with your body, because we got to stay connected with our body. We've got to stay connected with ourselves. What we know dampens desire. What makes it difficult for people, whether they're in a relationship or trying to start a relationship, is stress. Can't be present, as like I was yesterday in the car, because I'm so stressed out about the college kids and all this other stuff. I couldn't be present. So the pressures of daily life, you know, money pressures, money problems, pessimism, fear, blame are powerful thoughts, or power struggles. Depression and anxiety. People who are depressed are not present. They're somewhere else. And anxious people are deaf people. And I'm not talking about, you know, hearing impaired. I'm talking about when you're anxious, it's hard to hear what's going on. It's hard to notice what's going on around you. And then traumas. And we could do a whole other session on trauma and how that blocks the ability for people to attach with others, to be emotionally present, and so on. Other issues that dampen desire are partner infidelity. You know, caregiver roles change. I know that's one thing that I work a lot with my patients with spinal cord injury is oftentimes, particularly in a marriage, one partner becomes spinal cord injured and disabled. The other partner takes over the role of caregiver. And I would guess that might happen some in your cases as well. Without that balance of caregiver-spouse, relationships can go awry. Daily proximity. I mean, you used to, let's say for a married couple, use them as an example. You used to, you know, go away, have jobs, go do your thing, and then come back in the evening and spend time on the weekends. Great, love you. Well, now we're together all the time. Get away from me. I can't stand you. I need a little bit of space. So that kind of dampens desire. As health declines, or as your condition changes, can also dampen desire. Physical conditions with functional changes over time, hormone deficiencies, side effects of medications. There are at least, 100 medications that we use in the spinal cord injury world, and I would guess some of them are very similar to what you use. The side effects of many of those medications can dampen sexual desire and proficiency. Illness, fatigue, and lack of energy. Now, just in case you didn't notice, when you first fell in love, whether that was, when you were in 6th grade and you noticed Sally Joe across the room and you just really liked her and you really wanted to spend time with her. Or, good thing I didn't fall off, huh? Or when you were in junior high and you were at the dance and you got to finally, Joey finally asked you to dance and you were in love. Or when you were in high school and you were like, I'm going to ask him to the Sadie Hawkins dance. Or when you got into college and your hormones are all crazy anyway and you're in love with, a person every other week. Or you find the partner of your life and you decide to ask them to marry you. There's lots of great hormones and brain transmitters that are going around that make us really energetic. They generate feelings of euphoria, the dopamine and norepinephrine. It really gets us going, jazzes us up. However, over time, with commitment and in relationships that are long-standing, it tends to shift away from those euphoric brain transmitters to more of that kind of decrease that euphoria. Usually oxytocin and vasopressin that actually sedate and inhibit the testosterone and those excitatory kinds of things. So it's normal to not be in love all the time. Matter of fact, it's probably kind of difficult unless you're going to be like changing partners all the time or falling in love every other week. So just know that sometimes that bonding and that decrease in excitement and euphoria is just a natural human process. So some things that you can do, whether it be a new relationship, a relationship that you've been in for a while, or even just someone that you're really close to, is try some experiments. Try the 1-minute hug. That you just hug. You just hug. Breathe together. Notice the warmth. Be present. You might actually do a little thing with each other where you take say 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you have a lot of time, extra. And you go back and forth and say what you love and say what you appreciate about that person in your life. Now, this doesn't have to be a love relationship. This could be someone who's a really good friend. This could be someone who's a great supporter to you. You can have fun together. Maybe arm wrestle. Go see a movie. Sometimes just taking a time out and going, you know what? I'm done with all this usual rigmarole everyday stuff. Let's go to a movie. Go to something uplifting and fun. I don't go to movies very often, so I can't tell you what to go see. So sorry. Holding and breathing together. Just being close. Just noticing. The breath. You're there. I love that you washed your hair today with that, certain kind of shampoo. Empathetic touch. Really being with someone. So these are experiments. Making eye contact. Being able to hold someone for a moment with their eyes. And once again, I don't know who the famous person was, but somebody said the eyes are the gateway to the soul. For a moment, maybe a few more minutes. When I'm working with my nursing students around therapeutic communication and I talk about eye contact, I say it's not this. It's not that. It's being able to hold a soft gaze and to see the inside of the person through their eyes. All of this is about maintaining a healthy body, a healthy mind. And so there's so many aspects to it. The relationship of caregiver-spouse, your physical health, exercise. There's some great exhibitors out there today. Big shout out to Craig Hospital and the Peak Center. If you haven't been over there, check them out. It's a great place here in Denver for exercise. They're set up to deal with people with all kinds of disabilities. Saddle Up Foundation is out there. I used to do some work with Saddle Up and equine assisted therapies. Great therapy. It's also a great way to just connect with another being called a horse. That's a whole other session. I don't have time for that today. What you eat. How do you take care of yourself nutritionally? What we put in is definitely going to have an effect on our health. And then the whole hierarchy of needs. Our safety, our physiological safety, and then moving on up as we go. So everybody wants to know what's really great sex, and once again, trying to stay general here. It's about being present, focused, and embodied. So being in touch with your body, extraordinary communication and heightened empathy, being able to step out of my view only and get into, I kind of see it from your point of view. Really being authentic. Really being authentic. The way things are working or not working. And sometimes just laying it out is the best thing you can do. Freedom to be genuinely honest. And sometimes that's really difficult. Feeling no self-consciousness with a partner. Someone that you've been with or you're with. Fun and play, having a sense of humor, laughing. Some of the things that we all have to go through with these disabilities and the areas of our body that they affect, if we can't have some sense of humor in this, it's going to be really tough. Really tough. So being able to have, really being able to laugh and to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to surrender to this situation. I do want to make a plug for safe sex. We need to talk about that. Safe sex means sexual contact that shows respect, is pleasurable, is freely consented. That it's not a forced on thing. Reduces the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. Reduces the risk of unwanted pregnancy. Is safe emotionally. And sex is never an obligation. It's never a have to. It has to be a want to. Safer sex activities, there can actually be lots of activities. So when I was working at Craig, I'll tell you about that. I was there a long time. And we had lots of young men who had become spinal cord injured, which definitely affected their ability to be sexually active or function the way they did before. So they'd come to me and say, well, does it work? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Which one are you talking about? Of course, I knew what they were talking about. I'm not dumb. But I was trying to expand. We've got to expand what is safe sex activities. And a lot of these work for all of us in here. So truly great sex. Focusing on sexual performance for those with sexual concerns is counter-performance. So only focusing on does it work? Can I do it the way I used to or the way I've heard it's supposed to be done? Is counterproductive. Because truly great sex in a relationship is about being in the experience, enjoying the connection, letting it unfold rather than achieving any particular sexual goals. So, you are a sexual being. There's no rush. It's up to you. It's really about what is it you want? And who do you want to be with? And what do you need in your life right now, wherever you are? It's also about seeing this with new eyes. So hopefully today I gave you some food for thought to reconsider, to maybe try something different, expand your views a little bit. Because as Marcel Proust says, the real voyage of discovery rests in not seeking new landscape, but in having new eyes. So with that, I thank you very much again. I wish you well over the next 2 days that we're here. And I look forward to the Birds of the Feather sessions this afternoon and tomorrow. So thank you again.